looking at Craft Tweaker script structure for Terra Firma Craft. Hey there, everybody. Now let's make sure this is right first. Yeah, it would have been night again. Hello, everybody. It's Grampy Jag. Woo! And today we're going to learn about Craft Tweaker coding for Terra Firma Craft. That's a mouthful, I know. But before we get started, I just want to ask you to do something. If you like this video, send it to your friends. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, don't give me a thumbs anything, but send it to your enemies. Each and every one. Please, 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 please. If you just find it, hey, ho, hum, whatever, send it to everybody. Please, forward it. I know you can. You got phones. Just hit that forward and message everybody about Grampy Jag and Terra Firma Craft and Minecraft and yeah, all kinds of cool stuff like you see behind me. But today, as I said, we are going to focus on learning how to use tweaking with Terra Firma Craft. To begin, I'm going to show you how we tell what something actually is. So I am going to put a diamond in my hand. Whoa, it's magic. Okay, so you've got that diamond in your hand. How do you know what to use to tweak with it? Well, there's a couple of commands. You can do it either way. If you got everything loaded like me, you can do it either way. But what I typically use, because I can remember it, you hit your slash, type MT, and the word hand. Now you could, if you're just using Craft Tweaker, use CT, hand. It'll do the same thing. I use MT hand because my hand isn't empty. That's how I remember it. You know, you got to have these things when you get older. So now we're going to hit return, and it gives me two things. Let's see if I can stabilize this image. There we go. So it gives me two things. It gives me an item tag, okay, which is Minecraft : diamond. That's what it is. It also gives me an oreDictionary tag if you need to use that, which is gem with a capital D on the second part, which is diamond. Okay. The cool thing is when you click MT hand, it will copy this part, the Minecraft diamond, into your clipboard. Apparently you can do it with this. See how it says or : gem diamond? But you need to probably click on it. Yeah. It does this one automatically, and this is what I'm usually after, because I can typically remember this. But this sometimes gets extremely complicated. So now we've got that connected to our clipboard. And we'll get to what we're going to do with it in a second. But the other thing we need is wood. And in this case, it's acacia, but we're going to make it any wood. So let me get to where I can see what I'm doing. What we're going to do is we are going to take 5 sets of acacia planks and we're going to turn them into one diamond. And we can do this in two ways. We can do a shaped recipe so that you have to put it in the X in order to get the diamond. Or we can do it as a shapeless recipe, which means you can put these in any order as long as there's just 5 of them and you'll get a diamond. Yeah, I know, it really doesn't make sense the way the world works, but not everything in Minecraft does. I'm sure you've seen plenty of things that make no sense, like, I don't know, fish turning into gold nuggets. Something weird like that. In any case, I'm going to hop out of this screen real quick, and we're going to hop into another one, and I will show you what we can do. So this is my scripting editor, and I use a program called Sublime Text. You can use pretty much any text editor because I'm going to tell you a little something. Okay. Well, let's first get into let me show you something else first. Let's back this up. We're going to start over in this section. So the first thing we're going to look at is how we set up our file structure. So what you need to do is be able to find where your instances folder is go down to what you're working on, which in this case is primitive Antics. We don't want the mods at this point. We are looking for scripts. So you're going to have a folder called scripts. And in here are all your different scripts that will be applied to the game when it's started. You have to be aware that the order you put them in here is the order they will be executed. So I use zeros, ones, and alphabetical if it means something to have them done at a later period or earlier period. You can also go into your scripts and set a priority. I don't do this because I find this much easier to work with. You can also, and what may happen with TerraFirmaCraft is I may put a folder called TerraFirmaCraft and all the scripts, because I'm probably going to break this, thinking about breaking it into 5 different scripts. All those scripts can go into TerraFirmaCraft. They will all execute the same time that folder executes. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. If I wanted to change the order and move 5 up to 0, it would still go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the order it would execute the files. You'll also note that it's ended in .zs. Okay. Your script file is the exact same thing as a text file. If you want to make your text file a .zs file, just change the ending. Take out the txt, put in the .zs, resave it. I like Sublime text because I can do text coloring or code coloring in here. So you come down here and see, you've got all them pretty colors, all that stuff. It makes it easier to read. Some of the things you have to have if you set up a script file is the pound name, the pound author. So it's pound name, the name of the file, .zs. So TerraFirmaCraft.zs. Author, your name, where the X's are. Recipe alterations for primitive Antics. Primitive Antics is the mod pack that these scripts are going in. Then you need a print so that you can track it when it's executing the files in case there's a problem. So it will print initializing and then whatever in between here, TerraFirmaCraft and the 3 dots. I have these 2 lines in here just so I can test a few things as I'm building the initial files. Then everything else is below here, and you'll see there's a lot of gray. Okay. There we go. So all this gray up here is information I may need as I do coding. This first part is separate from everything else. This is where in JEI you can remove things from the site of the players. So say you have, like carbuncle engine, and you have no use for a carbuncle engine, or it does something and you don't want the players to be able to do that something. You just go in and you put hide whatever the tag is for carbuncle engine. Okay. And the way you're actually going to do it is it's mods.jei.jei hide carbuncle engine. Make sense? And if you want to hide a fluid, you can put in liquid water, or you can put in a fluid tag. So a bunch of different examples of how the tags are written for just plain remove. And all that does is take it out of JEI's site. So when you see the icons over here, you can't click on it. The information's still there. So if we said, oh, you need cobble in order to make lava, and you have a process for it. If you look at cobble, and then you go up and you look at the processes, it will still show it making lava. If you want to get rid of that whole thing, it will remove the recipe and hide from JEI whatever is in this tag zone. So remove and hide carbuncle engine. Make sense? And the optional Boolean, you generally don't need to worry about. I've never had to worry about it, so I'm just saying you don't. So the next thing in here, I have the bulk of the changes for Terra Firma Craft. And there are several, because you can heat objects, and this is a guideline for how the heats are set up. This doesn't actually do any. By the way, these are comments, the double slash. The pound is either a single line comment or basically calls a function. So you got to be careful using that one. I generally don't put pound comments in anywhere. I use the double slash. So anything that's double slashed will not be executed and will be ignored and will be grayed out. So heating adjustments, how to register an item for heating adjustments, metalworking things, and I always remind myself, make sure you have a place to remove your recipe and then add your recipe. Okay, we'll look at that here in a minute. We also have anvil adjustments, so you can make things on the anvil. Barrel adjustments, so you can make things from the barrels, the water, and whatever's put in it. Stone napping, fire clay napping, leather napping, where you form items on the napping grid. And it gives examples for everything, so hopefully that clears things up. Alloy adjustments, if you want to make a new metal alloy, this is where you would do it. Chisel adjustments, like I'm going to be adding code to chisel a stone block or a wood block into slabs because that's not in here for some reason. Just found that out. Loom adjustments, if you want to get into textiles. And this is a funny one, the cairn adjustments. So what a cairn is a little hand grinder, typically used to go and grind grain with. It's not a great big windmill. It's a hand-operated dealie that's about maybe a foot, 2 foot across, used for grinding plants into paste, grain into flour, soft stone into powder. It has to be soft because you can't abrade something that's harder than the stones that the cairn uses. It'll just chew up those grinding stones. And then I have this, active coating below this line. So I am moving all my coating down here as I'm putting it in. And you'll notice that there's a lot of gray around my coating. So we're going to talk about something important that seems to have fallen out of favor the last 30-ish years. So I'm old. We've discussed that. Water under the bridge. That said, the first thing I learned when I learned to code, before I ever learned how to do any syntax or anything, do your documentation. Everything has to be verbosely and completely documented before you write code. And if you write code, make sure you have documentation about that code. For some reason, programmers today don't write documentation, at least not in this scripting community. So here's the thing. If you ever have to come back and reference this particular script, or you inherit this particular script and something changes and you need to fix or adjust something, if you don't have documentation and you don't have a logical progression of how things are done, you're never going to be able to figure out how to fix it. It will be a lot of work if you do. So document, 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 document. Can't stress that enough. The other thing is file structure or code structure. So you see in here, everything's indented a little bit. Makes it easier to read, gives you a higher priority. Everything in the same zone should be the same type and same priority. See how easy that looks? And if you look over here, I want you to notice how much gray is in here. See all that gray? That's all documentation. You're like, man, that's a lot. Grampy Jag, who can write all that? Well, trust me, it saves your life down the line. So, So the next thing I have on my list is to go through this particular bit of code. In order to start your script, it's got to know what it's pulling from. So it's mods.TerraFirmaCraft.item registry. So we're actually going to use the item registry to register the heat variables of a piece of something that's in the game. In this case, it's Minecraft iron ingot. So inside here is where your tag goes. So that's what you're modifying. That's what you're registering. And these conform to how much heat it absorbs in a given amount of time and at what temperature it needs to be set at. The next one here is the add recipe tag. So it's Terra Firma Craft. We're doing a heating process. We're adding a recipe. Terra Firma Craft wants you to put in a name tag for this. So this process is iron to wrought iron, and this is what's called snake script, where you take your words and you put an underscore between the words where the spaces would be, called snake script. And then we got our Minecraft iron ingot, and we're going to turn it into a TFC ingot wrought iron. So it's going to become a wrought iron ingot. It's going to happen at 1325 degrees. It's going to be destroyed at 1800 degrees. So why did we put this in here? And I should probably add that. Why did we put this in here? That would be a good comment to put in. Need to make iron usable by or for Pneumaticraft. See explosion. See explosion recipes. So what we're doing in the game, Future Pack drops Minecraft iron in chests. Typically, that iron is not used by Terra Firma Craft. So here's the question. How do you get compressed iron to get to Pneumaticraft to make purified iron? It's a logical circle that doesn't have a place to get in and work. So what we need to do is when we find those iron ingots, or when we make the iron ingots in Terra Firma Craft, we're going to be using cast iron ingots to do the explosion crafting to make condensed iron ingots. Well, we want to get rid of the process for using just regular iron ingots initially that are found, because yeah, it doesn't work. So we're going to take our iron ingots from Minecraft, we're going to dirty them up and turn them into wrought iron ingots so that we can use explosion crafting to get the initial compressed iron to start Pneumaticraft to get Minecraft iron. Long process, I know. This is a part of a process I am doing to get sulfur into the game. There is sulfur, but it is so rare. If you ever find it, you will never need to find it again because it comes in immense quantities. Chances are, because it's so restricted, so rare, you're never going to get it. So there has to be a way to get sulfur in the game to make gunpowder, to get TNT to do explosive crafting. So this is a two-part script. This is the second part, and this is where I take the element that I'm going to use in the heat process. I'm going to register it so it recognizes it in the heating process. And then we're going to put it in the heating process and take that alchemistry element and turn it into TerraFirmaCraft sulfur ore. It's going to happen at 425 degrees. If you get to 1800, it's going to be destroyed. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think we can get to 1800 degrees without bellows. So that's not a problem for most of the game. This section, I ran into an issue where I had to resolve the glue recipes. I had been making lime water from bones, so down here, because I couldn't get lime water because I couldn't get any calcium carbonate minerals in my section of the world. So I made a workaround. So we're using bones to make lime water. Problem was the glue recipe was extremely similar and conflicted. So I would do my recipe and it would give me glue. So I had to remove the glue and then add glue back and then add my lime water recipe. Historically, and this is what gets me, because most of the stuff the team that built Terra Firma Craft is pretty accurate in a lot of ways, scary accurate in some, but glue wasn't really made from bones. Glue was made from hooves and hides, basically. Rabbit hides, to be more specific. But you could technically use any hide. So we're creating the glue from hides mechanic. We're putting in one small prepared hide, which is a rabbit hide, basically, that's been scraped down. It's been treated. It's done everything except being tanned for leather. We're going to put it in liquid hot water. You're going to need 1,000 millibuckets. And that's the water you get from the hot springs. You're going to give it 120 game hours. That's 5 days in Minecraft, and it will create one glue. There may be faster ways down the line, but this is what we're starting with. This raw, I don't know, I got two raws, raw stone type from lime water and any gravel has been deleted and removed. I have discovered what the mechanic is for getting raw stone, and it ain't pretty, but it's there. So this was a workaround because for the longest time we could not find out how to get raw stone. So this has all been removed. I have yet to delete it though, just in case I need to reference some of this code. Making salt from salt water. Using the barrel, adding recipe, salt from salt water. So we put in 10,000 liquid salt water. And after 12 hours, you'll get 4 bits of salt. Because unless you find halite again, you're not going to be able to preserve your food. So this way you have a workaround. It is expensive, time consuming, yada, yada, yada. That's what we want first part of the game. It may go more than 12 hours. We'll see. 12 looks like a good number right now. And this is the first part of the sulfur fix. So what we're going to do is a barrel recipe again. And this is kind of in the vein of reality, but I really didn't have all the stuff to do it, so we're using a little bit of Minecraft magic. So we're going to take the sphalerite, liquid hot water, and you're going to put 16 in a barrel with a bucket of liquid hot water, and you're going to get 1 sulfur ore.
Wait for it. Wait for it. He's going to notice, and
So it shouldn't be 1 sulfur ore, it should be 1 sulfur element. So, see, we found something that needed to be fixed up right there. Ah, I just copied, I didn't want to do that. Where'd my sulfur go again? 1 alchemistry element. This is part of the great part of being able to cut and paste. It's also part of the things you got to watch out for. We will save that. And now that it's done, I'll have to test it, and if it doesn't work, I'll have to figure out what's wrong. But that's for another time. And then down here, I had this for grinding ingots to dust because, yeah, I goobered. It turns out you cannot use ingots in the small vessels to alloy unless they are ingots that are not part of Terra Firma Craft, at least as long as they're not copper ingots. I really didn't test the rest of these, I just assumed. But I can tell you for certain the copper ingots generated by Terra Firma Craft do not work by sticking them back in a metal flask for alloying. You have to use ore, or a metal, or a, what do they call it? Large vessel, which is a clay pot, basically. So that is a quick run through of some of the changes that we have done. And here in Pneumaticraft, this is the other part of the recipe for fixing iron. So we go in, first thing we do is we remove the recipe for Pneumaticraft ingot iron compressed. Takes out all the recipes. Then we add back what we want to do, which is to take the double ingot pig iron and turn it into compressed iron. And this is by explosion crafting. Oh, and this is, okay, this is if you want to do a single ingot. This is if you want to do it by a double ingot. You actually have a better chance. The lower the number here, the better the chance of actually getting what you're trying to do. So if you use a double ingot, you get a higher yield than if you just put a pile of small ingots in there. So that's all that does. So regarding iron, you're going to get a little metallurgy here real quick. So in the day, you had iron ore. Actually, you had bronze. Let's start with bronze. Bronze was a fantastic metal. Bronze was the king of metals. Bronze still was the king of metals when iron turned up, because iron was garbage. Everybody thinks, oh, we went from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. Oh, that's great. Well, there's a lot that entailed going that far, and it wasn't really the Iron Age so much as the Steel Age. The only reason iron became prevalent is because there was so much of it. Getting it to a usable quality was a different matter. So you take your iron ore, you put it in a bloomery with a flux like limestone and a little bit of quartz sand, and you cut off all but a little bit of air, and it creates what's called a reducing atmosphere, which will take all the oxygen and other garbage out of the system and go up the flue, and it creates little piles of cauliflower-shaped concretion, well, they're not concretion, but little lumps that they call sponge iron. Sponge iron is then heated and hammered and worked, which helps remove a bunch of the impurities and create a fibrous texture. This is still very dirty iron. It is loaded with silica, but it's easily worked at lower temperatures and can be easily welded, so you can make stuff out of it. It's about on par with mid-grade bronze. Mid-grade to, well, I wouldn't go high-grade. It's not hard enough yet. Bronze can actually be hardened more at this stage. But to get to where iron becomes steel, you've got to take and create a process where your wrought iron or your iron ore is in a blast furnace at high temperature with a lot of charcoal, and you create pig iron, which is high carbon, very high carbon steel. The only examples that we really have that we use today that are made out of high carbon steel is frying pans. Cast iron is also what it's called. The next process is getting the carbon out and down to a usable level, and that's what they use puddlers for. There are no puddlers in this game. There's no way to reduce the contamination and carbon content directly. You can use your imagination in Minecraft magic, but yeah, this is how it goes in real life. And you need to bring the carbon down to a point where the iron is no longer brittle. Then it becomes steel. And steel knocks the teeth out of bronze for the most part. And yeah, I know you're going to say, but, and I'm getting to this. There is a process for making what's called Wootz steel. And that's a whole different animal. And that's where your Damascus blades came out of. We're not going to get into that today. In any case, did I get my wand? I didn't get my wand. That's not it. Oh, what is that called? It's in extended crafting. There it is. Recipe maker. Okay, we need a recipe maker. So now that we've taken the long way around this thing, let's do something. So I'm going to get back into my view. And you remember we had the wood in here, right? Okay. This holds its inventory. And what we're going to do, we're going to use this tool and we're going to whack that. And when we do, something magical is going to happen. Recipe to clipboard. So now what we did in here, I can come over to Sublime text. And we're just going to open this area so we can use it as an example. We're going to pick a spot. We're going to paste it. Look at that. Wood, null, wood. So there's our wood in the center, and our wood on either one. So it does this by default as an AddShaped recipe. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this a little bit. We're going to drop out these tags, because we're not going to call from the extended crafting mod or the table crafting process. We're going to go back to generic AddShaped recipe. Okay. So the next thing we need to change, you see this number right here? This is supposed to tell you what crafting table this recipe works in. And 0 is supposed to be a standard crafting table. The problem is it don't seem to work. I've tried using it. I haven't figured out how to make it work. So you just take it out. Suddenly you got a regular crafting table. Okay. This tag that's emptied, that's going to be our diamond. So we need to come back into the game. Back to game. And that's where we're going to pick up our diamond. And we're going to go /mt hand. And that's going to copy the item tag to our clipboard. Oh, I don't want Java. Come on, where is it? Sublime text. There we go. And we're going to highlight these two angle brackets and we're going to paste Minecraft Diamond. So the reason we go Minecraft Diamond is because we specifically want a Minecraft Diamond. If there were other different types of diamonds, we could have gone and used this, which I'll just put down here for reference. Or, because it's an oreDict, an or dictionary tag, oreDict, gem, lowercase, diamond, and that will cover any and all things classified as diamond. Typically, there aren't very many things that are diamonds, though, so not going to worry about it. We're going to go with a specific thing because we're going to be specific. And this is a shaped recipe, so it needs to be laid out like we did in our table. So here's the thing. If you don't care what order these principal parts are, you can just go 5 or and then 4 nulls, 4 empty spaces. You just do this. Add Shapeless. and that will allow you to just put 5 planks of wood. And notice it's an or dictionary tab, so any plank of wood. If you wanted specific planks of wood or in specific orders, you would have to put in the tags for the items. You don't care, it just needs to be planked wood. Bob's your uncle. And that's how you create a diamond in a game out of wood. Yay! How hard was that? Not terribly, we hope. Alright, is there anything I forgot here? Oh, I know what it is. So here's the other thing. You could create a script using MineTweaker Recipe Maker that would land in the MineTweaker file. It's a little difficult to use, so we're not going to cover it here. But if you want to go and get frustrated, go in there and play around with it. It's going to land in your MineTweaker Recipe Maker script. You're going to need to copy it out, and you're going to need to paste it back into where you want it. But that's all I'm going to cover on that today. That's a whole subject on its own. So here's another problem I ran into. Remember back here, Terra Firma Craft? Where? Here it is. Have all these different things that I said we're getting rid of because I wanted to create raw stone because I couldn't figure out how TerraFirmaCraft got raw stone. I had to write a script for every type of gravel. And that is because when you get to the TerraFirmaCraft label over here, well, that's odd. Oh, there it is. Yeah, reading the gray is sometimes difficult when your cursor's in the way. When you get over here where it says TFC : gravel slash, instead of using something you could use a wildcard with, he wrote out the, or they, I should say, they wrote out the name. Very specific. TerraFirmaCraft is kind of a bully come coding because it doesn't like to be altered. So you have to do absolutely everything absolutely perfectly. It also does not like playing with other mods. It wants things its way. So even if you do the proper stuff, you may not get it to go its way because the mod will override you. I'm thinking it has a mind of its own, but that's me. In any case, if we add a wildcard, we could just put TFC gravel slash asterisk. And that would give us any TFC gravel would do this, which is add lime water and get a raw piece of stone. Didn't work that way. Pretty much everything with TerraFirmaCraft, you're going to have to go out a line for everything. Or CraftTweaker lets you do something else. And I don't typically use it because I find it cumbersome and easy to get confused. And that is assign a value tag that encompasses all those different items. So then we could come down here, and it has to be up above wherever this is, usually at the top of the file. But you can come down here and say, turning blah de blah de blah into raw stone, item tag group, value tag. And anything in that value tag group would follow this and give you, well, something. In this case, if you only put it in their value tag, you just get the granite version, and all these would be toast. That's the other problem with it, is you can't go and change two different things like that, input and output, because it wouldn't make sense to say, hey, random thing in, random thing out, because we won't want a random thing out. We want a specific thing out. So again, another reason why I don't get into that. Geomes. Another reason that it's going to be difficult for you to add mods, work with mods, and code for mods is TerraFirmaCraft works not on biomes. So anything that's biome reliant, like biomes with plenty, is going to be ignored. Anything that creates sounds based on the biome you're in, anything that spawns based on the biome you're in, is going to be wiped out. If it's by chunk chance, it'll work. If it's by biome, it won't, because TerraFirmaCraft uses something more akin to a geome, and they are huge. We're talking thousands and thousands of blocks across, which is why you need to do anything that's added to the game not linked to a biome. So if you're trying to work with TerraFirmaCraft on a mod pack and things aren't working, ask yourself, does this mod I'm adding, does it operate off of a biome basis? Does it need a rainforest to generate pink stones? Well, you don't have a rainforest, not in the sense that you're used to, not as a biome. So that ain't going to work. Do I have any other good things? Oh, yeah. If you're stuck, I mean, it took me a long time to get to the point where I could work with TerraFirmaCraft, because there wasn't, a lot of these aren't that clear in some things, and a lot of your other craft tweaker coding is a lot more forgiving than the codes for TerraFirmaCraft. I had to do a lot of digging on the internet to find examples I could actually get to work. Another problem is TerraFirmaCraft has gone through numerous changes over the years. So finding an example, you got to ask yourself, when was this example written and does it still hold up? So one of the things you can do, and let me get back to CurseForge, you can go and find things. Where did they go? There they are. You can go out and find things that use TerraFirmaCraft, okay? And you can go into their script folder and you can look at the scripts that they wrote for TerraFirmaCraft. Here's the thing. Most of these didn't touch nothing. Probably because they got as frustrated as I was at one point. So they gave up trying to do anything but extremely, very basic coding changes. That said, like I say, it's a matter of trial, error. You put something in, you run it, you see what it chokes on, you try and fix it. That's coding in a nutshell for you. And we're going to go back to the world, which is... So this has been Grampy Jag, doing a little bit of craft tweaker work. This was take number 5, and probably the third time I actually formatted the video and tried to get it uploaded. Did not like the way it turned out. Hopefully this will be better, because I'm telling you right now, this problem, I know I ain't doing it again. Not going to do it again. Nope, you get what you get or you don't. So, that said, y'all have a wonderful day. Remember, give me a thumbs up. Send me to your friends. All that good stuff that YouTube likes. But mostly keep watching the videos. Oh, yeah. And hopefully this has made TerraFirmaCraft simple as a dimple when it comes to code. I had to get that one in. I didn't manage to use it in the thing. Bob's your uncle. Love Bob's your uncle. Yeah, bye. That's it. Coming up, a look at geomes and bronze.